And without further ado, I'd like to present Delilah Nichols with Belmont Management Company. Put your hands together for her, guys.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? I am Delilah Nichols. I am the service coordinator for Belmont Management Company. Before I get started on my presentation, I want to tell you I never thought I would do anything with housing. My experience has been working with combat veterans in the past, setting up the University of Central Missouri's Military and Veteran Success Center. Prior to that, I worked with doctors, attorneys, university presidents, and I had a unique opportunity. In 2011, when I set up the Military and Veteran Success Center, I had a conversation with a housing developer. And I said, if you ever want to get back to the community, you should consider decent and affordable housing for our service members and veterans, especially those coming back from combat. They need a safe, secure environment. They don't need to be in party town. So that was in 2012. We had a conversation. And in 2016, they called me and said, we're going to make this happen. So here we go. In October 2018, Belmont filed their application actually in 2017 and was approved in 2018. The Missouri Housing Development Commission approved this $11 million housing development. It is going to be in Warrensburg. We broke ground on June 6, 2019. It is just east of the Walmart at 1105 Thompson Street. And it will be finished in 2 phases, mainly because our initial goal was to complete it in the July-August timeframe. However, due to the winter weather, due to extensive amount of groundwork that was required on the site, there were no underground utilities, and then there was a reorg within the construction company that was hired for that phase. We're a little bit behind schedule. So the plan is we will have July, August, the community building will be completed and some of the housing. And then in November, all the housing will be completed. However, we will be taking residents in that July, August timeframe. So this is a picture of the groundbreaking back in June. And here's what our goal is. This isn't just housing. We're offering a supportive services plan. So we are providing an environment that will provide individuals the opportunity to become engaged. So maybe we have someone who's come back with wounds of war. Maybe it's someone who's trying to get their self, together, get back on their feet. That's where I come in. I'm going to work with resource providers to help them get the services that they need. It's not mandatory, but it is an opportunity to help people pull their lives together if that's the need that they have. So we hope to create a national model for service-enriched affordable housing. And did that flip? Okay. We'll do this with many of our service providers, and I can talk about the letters of intent here in a little bit, but that's with some of our local colleges. It's with service providers from veteran organizations, eye doctors, physical therapists, you name it. We've got great community engagement. This housing design was created with military families in mind and working families. Service members and veterans are given priority consideration upon completing an application and passing a background check. That was the goal. The initial goal was to give back and to honor our service members and veterans. It will have 13 buildings, 12 housing, and 1 community building. And you'll see up here I brought some outlines of what the apartments will look like, so feel free to look at those afterwards. There will be 60 units consisting of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments. 45 of the apartments will be offered at the affordable rate, 15 at market rate. Your rent range is $425 to $850 per month. That will be based upon the applicant's income, apartment size, and whether it is affordable or market rate apartment. The tenant pays electricity and the owner pays all other utilities. So there will be 4 duplex buildings, 3 single-story row houses, 5 two-story buildings, and 1 community buildings. There are no elevators in the buildings. The community building size is approximately 4,000 square feet, and that's where I come in. Our offices will be located there, and that's where we have a conference room, and we will be able to do educational sessions on a variety of topics to help our future residents with any need that they have, bringing those service providers in. I know that we have workforce development. We have a lot of providers who are coming on a regular basis to provide educational sessions and opportunities for our residents to get involved and engaged. There'll be 8 one-bedroom apartments, 22 two-bedroom apartments, and 33 bedroom apartments. And this, I'll just flip through these. This is a duplex building, the fourplex, and an eightplex. We will serve the general public. It does have a focus on service members and veterans, but it is open to everyone. And it has universal design features, meaning that there are ADA accessible units and that we are open to all folks. We made a sustainable housing election, National Green Building Standards, bronze certification, so that means there will be efficiency with the energy, the water resource. You can see that there. So the community building amenities, this makes me happy. We'll have a computer room, a library, conference room, endless pool, and I put a one-page sheet out there. And that one page on your table goes over the various services that we intend to offer to our future residents. The endless pool is a great addition for those folks with mobility issues. They'll be able to exercise and put less strain on their muscles and so forth. We'll have an outdoor walking track, resident garden plots, enclosed dog park, a playground area, and many of the apartments, as you see, have patios and porches. So here's our 5 key focused areas. Our goal is to increase housing stability, increased income and employment, improve physical or mental health, quality of life, and social and community connections. At this point in time, I am taking names of individuals who are interested in potentially filing an application. And so if there's someone here today or someone you know who might be interested in the housing, all they need to do is give me a call or an email. My contact information is on the back page of the one-sheeter at your table. And so what happens is I will take names of individuals who are interested, and then when we have a date when the application process opens up, we will notify those folks to come in and to complete that application and pay their $16.50 for the background check, and we'll go from there. So at this point in time, I'm open for any questions that you might have. Yes, ma'am.
Educate me, Delilah. I think I know what this means. I think it means that it doesn't have any steps. But what is an endless pool?
The endless pool, that's to where, if you've ever seen, a lot of people have those indoors and it has motion. The water has motion, and that helps you kind of walk against resistance. And so that's very good for training and for folks with mobility issues, joint issues. It's much easier, like water aerobics. You're welcome. Any other? Yes, ma'am.
Will the leases just be a one-year commitment then?
So they are one-year leases, and so with military members, of course, if they have orders, you have to honor that.
So if you have non-military people leasing, and you have people on a waiting list that are service members, they just have to wait until someone decides they're going to move?
Correct. So when an apartment becomes available, vacant, then we go to the waiting list and you look to see who qualifies. Is it an affordable apartment? Is it based on their income? Or is it a market rate apartment? What is it that they're qualified for and interested in? Yes, ma'am.
So you're taking names now for when the application process opens. How many names do you already have?
About 58, but that's the
How many
thing.
rooms, how many places?
There's 60 apartments.
Okay.
I have about 58 names right now, but, you don't know
Right.
if they'll be qualified, if they'll still be interested. There's always a lot of variables in that regard. So it's simply just a notification list to say, hey, it's time to come in, complete an application, and yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Who does the maintenance, or do you have somebody that lives on site, or?
So there will be a maintenance man hired. There will also be, because I am not a tax credit property manager, so they'll hire someone in the coming months who will manage the property and work with the residents on the leasing and so forth. My main role is I will be connecting folks with the supportive services that they need. Yes, ma'am.
So is there a board then that goes through the applications to decide who gets the houses? Is it based mostly on the financial?
So the low-income housing tax guidelines for Johnson County. So you can actually pull those up, and let me see if I have them right here. It'll be based on the 50 and 60% income. So it's a low-income housing tax credit income limits. So, based on one person, two person, and at that average median income for the affordable housing. Yes, ma'am.
Do you see more of active military members or retired or?
Honestly, I have a lot of retired ones who are interested in the property, mainly because it's maintenance free. They know that there's going to be an endless pool. There's going to be the walking trail. They've heard about the different service providers coming. And I've had so many contact me and say, hey, would your company, especially like senior citizens, would your company be interested in building an upscale senior living area like this? Because so many are interested in downsizing once they retire or they get into their golden years, and they really don't want to mow the yard. And they really don't want to have to depend on somebody else or pay them because they're on a limited income. So we have had a lot of inquiries in that regard.
Can't say you blame them, right?
Right. I'm thinking to myself, it's a little hot out there pushing that mower in the hot sun. Uh-huh. Yes, sir.
You said this was going to be a model, or are you looking at doing more of these?
Our company, so this is what's cool, right? Because I never thought I'd be in housing. The owner of the company, Ryan Hudspeth, grew up in affordable housing. So he and his best friend started this company back in, I think, 2007. They work out of 6 states, Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, Colorado. I lost count. But, pardon? Oh, I thought you said something. But they are very well known. They are top in what they do. And I know from speaking with the owners of the company that their heart's in the right place. Because if you grew up in affordable housing and it wasn't very good, and if you have a heart to give back and to make a positive difference in other people's lives, that's what I want to be involved in. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
So if there's more demand for the affordable side of it, you said there's 15 that are market rate.
Yes, ma'am.
Will they rent those to the people that qualify? Do you know how
That's a
going?
question I can't
Don't know.
answer. I assume it is what it is based upon the federal funding that they've got and the manner in which the application, that is out of my pay grade.
Yeah.
But I
would
assume
say
it
that
is
they would-
set.
I would say that they would have to have
Correct.
25 would have to be at the lower. I just wondered if they would fill them all with people that were the lower income.
That's a question I can't answer. Yes, ma'am.
Company.
So if somebody wanted to apply, do they have to currently be living in Johnson County?
Oh, no.
Can be from,
I have
State?
folks from Lexington, Kansas City, Warrensburg, Sedalia, all over. It's open to anyone. A lot of people are very interested because, think about it, right there in Warrensburg, you're right by the CBOC, right by Western Missouri Medical Center. Warrensburg is growing. We're working with Oates to try to have that public transportation stop every day. And so that is where that transportation aspect comes in. I cannot tell you at this point in time if the company's buying a van. I don't know that. I tried to do a little finagling and getting that done. I just met with the University of Missouri Extension, their horticulturist, and Johnson County Master Gardeners, who are pretty excited, pardon me, because we want to do a beautification. So we'll use our raised, durable beds to plant things like flowers and herbs and maybe some small tomatoes to where we can actually bring in someone then to do like maybe a cooking class, a nutrition class. And so getting folks engaged, and I don't know if you know Scott Holmberg. He was a former executive director of RISE, and he talked to me about those raised beds, and he said, when you have folks with developmental disabilities, garlic is a great thing to plant because they can utilize those fine motor skills, and then they learn about depth and inches. And so, we talked about different things that we should plant because the whole thing is based upon engagement, education, and engaged living community. I also went up and met with the Kansas City Community Garden folks, and it's so neat because we were talking about, I have these high hopes and these big dreams, right? And so as I was thinking about military families, as I'm thinking about what are ways for engagement, what about an edible walking trail? If you had edible bushes, if you had edible trees, I mean, that's going to take a while because they dozed down all the trees before I got that far. But, and they weren't fruit trees. But, you know, I have these high hopes. I would like to see that because as you go for a walk, you know, maybe you can pick some blackberries or something, or maybe in the future, probably I won't be here, but, you know, maybe an apple or a pear or some type of a fruit along the trail. How neat would that be? Because that goes along that 10-acre track. And then one of the things I talked to the owners about, I said, you know, whoever has a contract for lumber, maybe they would provide additional lumber so we could build those workout stations along the track. So our military folks who have to always have physicals and keep in shape, that's a great way to have a stretching station, you know, do some pull-ups. So I might get in shape myself again. I'm hoping. Other questions? Yes?
Of the 58 or 60 people you have on the waiting list.
Yes, ma'am.
How many of those would you say are active military personnel, and how many would be civilians?
Honestly, I don't get into those details with them. Some of them just forthright. You know, I ask the basic questions that I need to have. If folks tell me that I'm retired military, I'm active duty, you know, I know that, but I honestly couldn't stand here and tell you because I'm not tallying all that up. Because at this point in time, I'm just taking names. I can tell you that a large percentage are retired veterans who are interested. And I will answer, well, I won't say answer, I'll offer this, because one of the frequently asked questions is, are pets allowed? Belmont does have a no pet policy, but we have an enclosed dog park because those who have service animals for a qualified disability will be able to have their animal. And that's why we have an enclosed dog park. That's why we have a playground, because it's focused on children and families. I've had folks ask me, especially those little widows, you know, of a service member or veteran, and they say, oh, well, I get priority consideration. And unfortunately, because the funding initiative through Missouri Housing Development Commission, the focus is on the veteran. So, you know, I'm taking the names. But we'll see. We'll see who gets on the list. We'll see who files applications, who qualifies. But, you know, if it's completely full of service members and veterans, that'll make my heart happy. But if not, we're here to serve everybody. That's the goal, and to make a positive difference in the lives of those that we serve. And we hope to take this model once we have a successful operation and utilize it. In fact, the company, the corporate office, has me writing supportive services plans for 5 other properties at this time. So I know their intentions are good. And that's why I'm proud to be associated with the company. Are there any other questions? I got 5 minutes. Yes, ma'am.
Those 5 other properties, are they in Johnson County also?
No.
They're in
In other states.
other states?
Texas, Oklahoma, trying to think.
Oh, the other, okay.
The other 5 that I'm writing plans for, yes, ma'am.
So this is the only one in Missouri?
So they actually are, and I can't even tell you where. They have a property in Kansas City right now that it's going to be a rent-to-own property. So they have done, so one of their former employees, if you're familiar with the Lincoln Hubbard Apartments, when that was a school, he came in and he revitalized that. And they've done a lot of revitalization of properties. Because we were contacted also about Whitworth Military Academy in Lexington. But right now, you know, the company, it's a small company. It's a grassroots company, but they are growing by leaps and bounds, and we will see what the future holds. They're getting a lot of requests from this area. Yes, ma'am.
So twofold question.
Yes.
What do you feel like has been your biggest challenge throughout the evolution of this project year to date? How did you overcome that challenge? And looking forward as the build out and getting your occupancy full, what do you feel like is going to be your biggest challenge going forward?
For me personally or the company?
Both. Either way.
Okay. So the biggest challenge for the company, I would say, is the fact that the 10-acre site that they bought, totally undeveloped. So the extensive amount of groundwork that was required, the underground utilities and so forth, and like even Culver's, where Culver's just built. You know, it was a major event running all those utilities. You know, finding a construction superintendent in the area, that's something I've heard from Habitat for Humanity, from those folks that sometimes it's really hard to find a construction superintendent. So it took us a little while. We had hoped to maybe hire a veteran construction superintendent, and we waited a while, didn't. But they did find a local guy, and he's great. You know, he has a good reputation. He cares about what products are being used at the facility. So for the company, I think just the weather delays, you know, you always are dealing with subcontractors, finding the right ones to do the job. The weather has been a massive impact. So for me, what's been challenging, I had like a month when they hired me because they had talked to me and I was actually working a different position. So when they talked to me and they hired me because I quit that job, I had a month, about a month and a half to pull together a supportive services plan. And that meant, that was like over Christmas in January of last year. And that meant I had to go and meet with service providers. And what do people typically do during the holiday season? They're taking vacation, right? Some places are closed. But I was blessed. I met with people. They knew me from the work I had done at the University of Central Missouri. I was able to explain the initiative. I got buy-in. I probably have, and I don't have the count, probably 30, I'm going to say 738 letters of intent, anything from nutrition, again, to exercise, an eye doctor. And I'll tell you why an eye doctor was important to me. I have a friend who's a diabetic, and he had been told and told and told, you've got to take care of yourself. You need to stay on your medication. You need to exercise. You need to eat right. He now gets injections in his eyes every 6 weeks so he won't go blind. So I want you to think about those of you. How many of you work with folks who may be on a fixed income or, you know, right, and they get commodities, right? Are those nutritious commodities?
Not always.
Pardon?
Not always.
They don't always have access to fruits and vegetables and fresh products because they cost a little bit more. I mean, you can go to a farmer's market, but, you know, I'm thankful that the farmer market takes the EBT cards because that allows them to get fresh produce. But, you know, having someone like, you know, I think about those garden plots, if we have herbs, you know, because a lot of people think, we've all been there, I have, oh gosh, healthy eating, that food's just so bland. You know, a good pizza or a chimichanga or something like that. But you know what? You can take herbs, you can take seasoning, and you can make great food. And so as a part of our nutrition effort and the raised garden beds, that's what we want to do. We want to utilize fresh foods to teach people, you know, here's a better way to eat. So, other questions? Time's up.
I just want to say thank you for the service that you're providing active and retired military members. I think that's something that we can all attest to. So is there anything that we as a community can do to help you?
You know, I think just getting the word out there that, you know, and I'm a one-person show. I've been a one-person show here since they hired me, trying to formulate that supportive services plan. So if you work for a business or an organization, because to me it's a win-win, right? If you are a solid business organization that has a right mindset in making a positive difference in somebody's life, and you have an interest in coming in and maybe presenting about, you know, maybe it is why you should have a living will, why you should have a health care directive, you know, why, you know, how food stamps work, how SNAP works, whatever. Bringing these folks in to provide the education, you know, a little plug here for State Fair Community College. And I hate to say I was enrolled, but I had to drop because both my parents had major health crises in the last month and both have ended up in nursing home or rehab, so I had to drop the online community health worker class that I was taking. But kudos to State Fair Community College, because I'm going to tell you something. Anybody who's interested in that course, I only got to week 7 when I had to drop it, but that textbook and the information presented in the program is invaluable. And I wish I could continue that course, and I hope to be able to do that in the future, because knowing how to be the right kind of liaison, how to have those conversations with people who have been faced with adversity, you need to have a lot of compassion and a lot of skill in that regard. And I just want to say one other thing. I know my time's up, so thank you. Advocacy. Advocacy is imperative. If you are going to advocate for someone, sometimes that means walking alongside them. I had a lady who came to my home for a Bible study, And she worked for a local fast food restaurant for 21 and a half years, and she had a hearing impairment. She came to my home, and I could tell she kept rubbing. I had to pick her up. She didn't have transportation. But long story short, she had worked for this company for 21 and a half years. She had no benefits. They worked her just enough hours to give her no benefits. She had no running water, no hot water. She had no heat. But through the efforts of the Open Door Ministry, Salvation Army, I was able to get her vouchers, but I walked with her because sometimes there's folks in positions who have passion, and sometimes there's folks in positions who collect a paycheck. It's very important. If you are serving as an advocate for someone, you follow through and make sure that they get what they need. She called me crying and saying, I took a hot shower for the first time in a year. I was able to connect her with West Independent Living Solutions. I was able to connect her with, Center for Human Services. They were able to get her involved with Folk Rehab. She has new hearing aids. She has a new apartment. She has a new job. She has benefits and a 401k plan. So, that's important. Thank you. Thank you.